Welcome to Scythian Dragon Lord's Education Channel. This video is going to be about Professor Jose Ferenc Baldiny. More going over his works on the Scythian from 2008. Professor Baldiny describes the Carpathian Basin as the origin of the Magyar-speaking people, at least the early Neolithic period. He describes it as the Scythians, Huns, Turanians, Medes, Chaldeans, Magyars, biblical Magog, also Szabir, aka Sumerian. The language is a Agglutinative written languages. Magyar, Hungarian, Etruscan, Turkish, Basque, Aramaic, various Caucasian languages, and Japanese. The symbols represent are the sun, the Rosetta, lion, constellation of the sun, Turul, which is the Falcon, tree of life, tree of knowledge, Fokos, axe, holy fire, four wedges, Venus, the Huns Celtic cross, and the double cross. The principles of the Scythian Magyar people is knowledge, wisdom, quest for truth via direct spiritual contact with God. Motto is uplifting knowledge of the greatest gift man can have. The spiritual leaders of the Scythians were the Magi and the Taltos. That's the Magyar-Hungarian word for they're shamans, but they were different than shamans. Taltos are actually born with the wisdom and the knowledge. They don't inherit the wisdom knowledge like the shamans do. Shaman is more of a Siberian area type of, native pagan type leaders that they used. They also had Master Gudia, Melchizedek, Izu, which was a popular name for Jesus. Political leaders were kings and princes of city-states, kingdoms and empires, monarchies of Uplifting nations, which was another word that they took for Noah. Kings are chosen among the Magi. The religion of the Magyar Scythian groups was monotheist. We believe in an imaginable creator and source of life called, among other names that they use, is Isten, Trinity and light, and depending on the references, divine activity or function. Father of light, Virgin Mother of light, and Child of light is inferred from cosmic manifestations. So it's not really a person, but more of like a life force. There's a lot of groups and people that belonged down from the Scythian lines. Uplifting, as I mentioned, with the biblical flood, was of Noah. Canaan, who was the grandson of Uplifting. He was around Mesopotamia and then later Canaanites, around like the Jordan Valley region, which was later called Abyddin, Parthia, and Palestine. That was Cush. Cush was for Hungarian ram, like Aries, grandson of Uplifting, Mesopotamian Egypt area. Nibur, it's like a panther lord of Cush. It's another word for Nimrod that they used. The different princes, like Nekeb, Abyddin was a Parthian prince. Parthia defeats Rome, liberates North Palestine, which was the biblical Galilee, Samaria, and parts of Judea. That's the newly liberated territories is attached to the Parthian Abyddin kingdom under the governorship. So a lot of that Parthian Empire all the way to the old Bactria area. These were, under the Abyddin Empire's rules. Famous people from the Abyddin Empire would be, Princess Mary Abyddin Thrax, which was the daughter of Prince Nakeb Abedin and Parthian Princess Grapte Thrax, which was the wife of Yosef Abedin. That's your biblical Joseph Pondar under civil law. They had Gabriel, had Magush, Sipar, Mesopotamia. He travels to one of the myths was that he travels to Cephalus, Galilee, to visit Mary to announce their miraculous pregnancy, the story of Jesus. Izu, that's a popular name for Jesus. That was the son of Princess Mary Abedin Thrax, born 6 BC in Bethlehem, Galilee, written Bethlehem using the Roman alphabet. And that's where you get the story of the the Magi royal king priest that traveled from Sipar to greet the biblical Jesus, which they in the Bible, which they referenced as the 3 wise men. Also, an important time frame is when Parthia falls. That's a time frame when the Scythians migrate north to the land of Central Eurasia, Danube area, and from there, the next group of folks that we talk about would be the Huns, and that's Nimrod's 2 sons. We also labeled them as Royal Scythians, Hanor, the Huns, and Magog, which is the Magyars, the 2 biblical sons. We had the group of folks which were called the Black Huns of Europe. That's usually references the northern part of the Black Sea area. So, they would be referenced as Black Huns, aka the names would be Attila, like Attila the Hun, and Arpad, Hungarian Prince Arpad. And then groups of the people that are tied in with them are the Celtic people. The Celtic people, Central and Western Europe, they migrated west and bring a lot of civilization to Western Europe. But only in Hungarian can you actually break up the word Celt, which aka is Celt. Celt means from the east. So those were our Scythian brothers and sisters that actually migrated from the east. But they, their area was that old, down to the Iron Age Europe. That is when the Magyars and the Celtic people fused together. That was during the Scythian times there. And, by that time, the Scythians fused into the Celts. The Celts and the Magyars were already living there, so they fused into each other. After time, they ended up, joining different groups. It included the Irish, Welsh, the Scots, the Gauls, the Basques, the Etruscans, and the Erebasic. The Black Huns, they ended up absorbing into other cultures as well. That includes the Caucasians, Armenians, Kurds, Kazakhstans, the Poles, the Croats, and the Ukrainians. The group that we call the White Huns, Western Central Asia to Northern India and some European Magyars. These were the groups that came from the lower areas, Upper India to Mongolia over there in Afghanistan. They were called the Hephlites, but we'll definitely make a separate video on those people as well. So here I'm going to go over some definitions from Professor Baldinys, the Scythian paper. First, I'm going to start with the Magyars. These are the Hungarians, biblical Magog. They are a people, and their language also called Magyar, Magadi, Magori by the Indians, Scythian by Greeks, Zhu Hun by Chinese, Hun, Hungarian, Sekli was Sekuli as the tribal name. Avar, which just means Avar, which means fort builder Huns. Celts in Western Europe. Mentioned biblical Magog, Gog of Magog, which is Attila was a Gog. Duke Geza was a Gog. Magyar-speaking people centered in the Carpathian Basin since at least the early Neolithic Crans period. They bring writing to Sumer around 3000 BC as the Yamdet Nazir name of the dig site, folks, down there in Mesopotamia, and establish civilizations in Europe, China, India, Egypt, and the Americas, the Mayan civilization. The next definition I'm going to go over is going to be the definition of Scythian. In Hungary, in Magyarország, we call it Skita. It's the Greek name of the indigenous people of Central Eurasia, also known as Magyars, Huns, Avars, Celts, Yazig, Kurds, Bactrians, Sarmatians, and many other names that they through the times have associated. But mostly these were Magyar people, European stock. The next definition that we're going to go over is the Sumerian definition. The Sumerian area were the Subartu, Szabir, which technically meaning like the sun-faced Sapir, sun-faced facing people. They were a lot of sun worship going on in Mesopotamia. Scythian, Magyar, Hun, according to the Hieroglyphic Dictionary, citing Egyptian records, Arpad's grandson cities, the Greeks Chronicles, is where the original name Subir Asphali, which meant the land of Sumer. The next definition, group of people that I wanted to speak about was the Chaldeans. They're non-Semitic inhabitants of Mesopotamia, known as the people of knowledge, who later aligned with their northern kin, the Medes, to defeat the hegemony of the Babylonian and Hebrews Hammurabi religion ideology, 18th century BC. In 256 BC, they formed the Parthian Empire along with the Scythians, the Medes, and other non-Semitic group of people of Sumer. Now, the definition of Med, the Median Empire, which, as in the study of Ferenc Baldiny says, they're a non-Semitic people of the Zagros Mountains in Iran and northern Mesopotamia, 2nd millennium BC, and believed to be the ancestors of Kurds. Astrologist Parpolis says they are the Kuti, biblical Goyim people. Herodotus lists 6 tribes, which of one of those is the priest king class, the Magi. Those were the 3 wise men, which was over there in northern Iran area, which was one of the hot spots. Now, those groups all had Magyars, Hungarians, living amongst them. The Magyars, also called Hungarians, Huns, Avars, the Aboriginal, Magyar-speaking inhabitants of Central Europe, are one and the same people. Hungarian being the English variant. In Hungary, everybody calls themselves Magyars. We don't say we're Hungarians. Hungarian is just an outside word outside of Hungary. People use to describe the Magyar people. There are very, many historical accounts of us in different places. That is because Magyars are traveling people. We go everywhere. We are all over the globe, all over the place, have been for many thousands of years. What happened, one of the stories that goes back to the the old beginning of during the Roman conquered times, Western Hungary, which is called Pannonia, in around 14 A.D. But the Huns, the Magyars, they were always retained the anatomy there. So just because it's labeled something different doesn't mean that the Magyars weren't there. Under Attila the Hun's leadership, they clashed with the Romans, Battle of the Chaldeans, 405, 451. Both armies are decimated, and Romans withdraw. Attila pursues the Romans, and in less than a year catches the remnants of Aetius's army in Italy. Emperor Valentinian III dispatches Leo Pope I to meet Attila and plead for clemency, which Attila grants in exchange for the return of the Hun treasures plundered by the church. Missionaries of the Roman church destroyed the Huns' religious symbols. The Huns revolt and launch a series of punitive attacks against Rome. So they're trying to get their stuff back. The gold, different symbols, they're burning of the double cross and stuff like that, because the double cross has always been the symbol, and our Turul. The Huns, reinforced by waves of Scythian refugees from former Parthia, becomes known as the Fort Builder Huns, Avar, Avad, Apether, which means Var, Fort Builder Huns. When they learn of Emperor Heraclius's Byzantine by now, and they're Judo-Christians by now, desecration of the Holy Fire, which is the symbol of the Scythians' Holy Spirit, they launch a successful and punitive attack led by Baldiny against Byzantine in 5th, which they say 7th century. There's some time lapses here. There's a whole 297 years that we need to make a separate video about. These are called the Phantom Timelines. They don't have much information about it because technically it looks like Emperor Odo, entered these dates into the calendar. And then east of the Carpathians, 8 Magyar nations under the leadership of Arpad, son of Almos, soon Emesh, which is Parthian royal bloodline. We talked about that earlier, the Parthian Empire. Further reinforced their kindred in the Carpathian Basin. It says 549, and then they put in parentheses 897 or 895. I'm sorry. Well, there's a huge timeline difference between these tribes coming in. Their combined armies launched military campaigns in Western Europe to recover their nation's religious treasures plundered by the marauding Germanic tribes and to foil German plans to invade Hungary. Looks like there was a conspiracy between foreign supporters of pretender to the House of Arpad. Vajak, the Holy Roman Empire, results in the killing and quartering Arpad's rightful heir Kopani. Where this gets into the Christianity versus the old Hungarian native faith people that were royal pagans, not worshiping the male gods and everything. Vajak, which they say was installed as King Stephen I, by Pope Sylvester II in exchange for Hungary's forced conversion to Roman Christianity, 1000 A.D. The Inquisition purges the Magyar Magi and burns our sacred writings attested to Jesus' true identity and teachings. Judeo-Christianity and an alien feudal system are forced on the Magyars. Hungary becomes landlocked when the pre-World War I Russian-France pan-Slavic conspiracy to reduce Hungary's territory by 2/3 to create new Slavic states is implemented, which was Trianon Dictate of 1920, which is actually implemented in 1914, and they didn't just they just fully started implementing in 1920. This is a this is something that was done by the at time we would say the Freemason folks. They have all the paperwork, all the different types of people that were involved in splitting out Hungary from the Austrian, Hungarian, pagan empire. But we'll continue that in another video. Thank you for the listen.